Okay, so chapter 7 and chapter 14 are going to be the video for this week. Chapter 7 is going to be financial management, so that's going to consist of the budget, break-even point, cash flow analysis, profit and loss statement, a balance sheet, financial control systems, as well as panic payments. This is basically the financial chapter. And then it's also on chapter 14, which is going to be the operations and logistics. So it's going to be the logistics, the policies, procedures, performance standards, functional areas, as well as leadership and staff motivation. So I will talk a little bit about those things. So like I said, the chapter 7 is basically the financial management chapter, which is developing pretty much when you have an event, you need to develop the budget, including the income and expenditure. So what's going to go into the event, what you're going to get out of it, if you're going to profit or if you're going to have a loss from it. Identify the break-even point in order to make pricing decisions. So at that point, whatever you're making will be more income. Review and manage cash flow, produce a profit and loss account, as well as develop controlling systems for managing finances within budget. All these are really important in an event, obviously, because you need to figure out if your event is aimed to make a profit, how much the event's going to cost, who are the revenue sources, you're going to have sponsors, how many tickets will be sold to break even for the event. So at that point you kind of need to figure out who the audience is going to go to, how many tickets you're going to sell, what is the cash flow situation. So if revenue is coming on the day of the event, is it also going to cover the office expenses, salaries, fees, etc., etc.? What control systems are needed to avoid fraud? So all businesses are accountable there to be put in place to ensure that money is accounted for. You need to make sure that there's not bags of cash left around, that whoever has the money at the time, that's documented. You have a documentation log for that. People sign off on whoever has the money bag the last. It goes to wherever the appropriate spot is that all the money is being handed to in the event, to avoid any fraud or displacement of money or other people stealing the money. And how will legal and tax obligations be met? So if the organization, for example, sometimes for nonprofits, you can claim it on your taxes, and etc., stuff like that. Then you need to make budget items. You need to make lists, like of what you're gonna need, how much the stage is gonna cost, how much the tents are gonna cost, management fees, if your volunteers are going to need to be wearing t-shirts, their t-shirt fees, design, artwork, all of that's really important in the financial part of it, as well as other stuff that goes into it, like the marketing for the event, the tickets for the event, the lighting, the signage, fixed costs, sound, printing, etc., all that. And then we already talked about the break-even point, which is what the number of tickets sold needs to be in order to meet the expenses of the event. But all that should be all included in the fixed costs as well. Cash flow analysis. What did I highlight? Yeah, cash flow analysis. There's charts for that you can make. profit and loss, so how much you're gaining from the event, how much you're losing from the event, if you break even on it, if you actually owe from the event, or if you actually gained any revenue from the event. So those are definitely good to have. Then a balance sheet. It's where the profit and loss statement captures results for a given period. For example, for that of the financial year. Financial control system, so that's going to be profit and loss statements that have to be approved, certain purchases that have to be approved. There's forms that you use for that, requisition forms. Panic payments, you need to have that in mind just in case anything did happen. For example, if it was a last price minute crisis, it could easily lead to a price higher than what you actually paid for it, which could kind of lead to a panic payment. You just have to be careful. For example, if the staging doesn't work out, always have a backup plan. And then that was pretty much it about the Chapter 7. It was a pretty easy read. It was basically all the financial aspects of planning an event. Of course, some are going to be way more intense than others. For example, the management of finances for a concert is probably going to be a lot more difficult than that of like a wedding, a small wedding. Then Chapter 14 was based on the operations and logistics. So logistics is basically about getting things organized and getting people in the right place at the right time, following your timeline, etc., while putting the event together as well as taking the event down. There can be a lot of logistical problems, particularly if it's like a tour group, like golf tournaments. Those are really hard. And that's basically what that section is about. Then there's the setup, which is the process that involves the installation of structures, readying of facilities for the event. So getting the staging put up, the lighting, the tents for the vendors, all that stuff. That's going to be all the setup. And then the tearing down is basically the dismantling of all that stuff. So taking down the tents, taking down the stage, taking down all the lights. Yeah. So that's the setup and tear down of the events. Procedures is going to be basically a form or a list of tasks. It's kind of like a checklist to make sure all the pieces fit together. So, yeah. Like if you're going to have an event and you're going to have it outside, you need to make sure the grass is mowed, all the outside features kind of are ready for you to go ahead and get your event incorporated onto the scene where you're having it. Performance standards. These are like inspection schedules. So like pre-event cleaning, pre-event day cleaning, during session cleaning, turnover cleaning, post-event cleaning, removal of waste materials. That also can use a timeline, like a run sheet. Functional areas is the responsibility into different functional areas. So where everybody needs to be when you need them to be. Kind of like departments in a department store is the best way to think of that. Procurement in stores. This is the area responsible for purchasing, storage, and distribution of all products required for the event. So, for example, drapes, linens, if catering is being used, all the kitchen stuff goes to one kitchen, things like that. Marketing is in time leading to the event. So this is going to be the pricing and promotion, basically, getting your target audience to the event, how you're doing it, by whether it's by posters, social media, different marketing attempts like that. Ticketing, registration, merchandising, finance, legal, technology, media, community relations, which that's like more of like nonprofit events. Like you want your community involved in nonprofit events, or events that have a vital role in the community. Staffing, services and information, cleaning and waste management, catering, venue operations, sports associations, medical, security. So this is all stuff that basically we've gone over in the previous chapters, kind of leading up to an event. All this is going to be included in the event, like the venue operations, the management of the venue, staffing, who you're going to have, if you're going to have training, if you need rosters, if you're going to have staff meal vouchers so they can eat, cleaning and waste management, the pickup and correct way to get rid of all the waste. Security, if it's a concert or something, you obviously need to have people there that are checking IDs if you're going to have alcohol there, etc., etc. And then you need leadership and staff motivation. So this is going to be kind of keeping everyone happy and together and enthused to really get through this event and all work together. I mean, you really just need a really good leader for this, and really good leadership skills. You need people that are going to motivate each other to do this. You don't want anyone being negative and saying, I don't like it, or I didn't expect to be doing this. I mean, you just have to think of things to keep people working as a team and together. And that was pretty much it for Chapter 14. Chapter 14 and 7 did tie in a lot with the financials, obviously, because there's financial responsibilities in the event that takes place in the operations, as far as if you're going to have people working there, staging, catering, the person buying all the supplies for the events, etc. I really liked Chapter 14. It explained a lot. It was kind of like a synopsis of the other chapters as well. But that's it. Thanks.